Have you ever noticed how SpongeBob has a tendency to create evil clones of himself that then gain sentience and try to kill their creator, aka SpongeBob? No? Well, I have. It's very weird. Really weird. And it made me look at SpongeBob a little deeper than I usually would. This show has been seamlessly theorized to death, but somehow no one, and I mean no one, has talked about this at all. But after doing some research, watching every episode where SpongeBob creates sentient life based on himself, I found a theme that I didn't think I would. A single element hidden in this show that not only connects to multiple different theories about the show, solves multiple plot holes and weird moments, but also single-handedly solves why post-movie SpongeBob is so differently from pre-movie. If you thought any of my other theories were crazy, this one is by far not only my craziest, but my best. What's the single thing that solves, well, everything? SpongeBob's doppelgängers. Doppelganger. Sorry, there's 4 versions of this word written in my script. One sec. Sorry, why the hell are there dots above the A? I need to figure this out. 1 second.
2,000 years later.
So it's a German word. That's why there's dots. It's called an umlaut. A doppelganger is a German word that means double walker, which sounds way creepier than it actually is. It's used to describe a person who looks exactly like someone else, but isn't them. They're not a twin or anyone related to you, but someone who simply looks just like you. Historically, they've been seen as omens, bad luck, signs of death, all that fun stuff. But in cartoons like SpongeBob, they're usually just gags. The thing that sets SpongeBob apart, though, is there's a surprising amount of distinct, interesting doppelgangers in the show. There's Doodlebob, there's Mini SpongeBob, there's Paper Bag Chef SpongeBob, there's Mustache SpongeBob, there's a Cowboy SpongeBob. The show doesn't really want you to actually notice this and ask questions, but when you do, it gets really weird about how many doppelgangers or just clones of SpongeBob exist in Bikini Bottom. Plus, the official SpongeBob channel even is referencing it in the show. Also, side note, but like, what are these thumbnails, man? Or more importantly, videos? Guess SpongeBob characters based on their feet? Really? How many views does this have? 11 billion views! There's about 3 central evil clones or doppelgangers of SpongeBob that appear in the show. The Paper Bag Chef SpongeBob, Mini SpongeBob, and most famously, and according to this guy, the evil SpongeBob character, Doodlebob. No hate to this video, but like, this guy in this video seriously said that Doodlebob is one of the evilest characters in fiction when he's not even in the top 10 in his own show. I'm sorry. Like, Plankton literally commits mass slavery, or Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob killed a health inspector, or you know, again, Plankton commits mass slavery. Now, the reason Doodlebob is evil is pretty simple, as SpongeBob himself says it in his episode.
No, not evil. He was just a 2-dimensional creature, lost in our 3-dimensional aquatic world, longing for a purpose.
Now, Mini SpongeBob and technically Mini Patrick are evil and torture them both simply because SpongeBob and Patrick were being rude to them, so yet again, it really just seems SpongeBob is the cause of the evil clones becoming evil. The final notable evil clone is the Paper Bag Chef SpongeBob, who is evil simply because he pisses SpongeBob off because he does his job better than him. You know, because he's a chef and SpongeBob's just a fry cook. Now, the only really connecting theme here seems to be that any life SpongeBob generates hates him a lot. But for a theory that isn't really some crazy dark explanation, but there is one for something very similar in the show. See, all the clones that look very similar to SpongeBob himself, not the weird ones like Mini SpongeBob or Paper Bag Chef SpongeBob, but the ones that look exactly like him with a hat or a mustache or different tie actually do create a theory. See, these SpongeBob clones actually pop up constantly, mainly for a random bit or to confuse a character. But like, why? Why are there so many SpongeBobs in a single town? Is SpongeBob secretly cloning himself for some weird tax fraud? Or maybe Mr. Krabs is also secretly cloning him for some weird tax fraud / illegal unpaid labor? Well, not exactly. Mainly because SpongeBob does not have a salary. But also, I believe these SpongeBob characters aren't just for bits. They aren't just non-canonical funny bits, but an actual part of another theory for SpongeBob that solves the entire show. This theory comes in when you realize these other SpongeBobs don't feel like just gags, they feel like extras, like background characters, like stunt doubles. Okay, now at first it may seem a little crazy and nonsensical, especially if you've not seen Alex Bale's television theory, but you know, you probably have, so I'll only explain the bare bones. Alex Bale has a very popular theory that SpongeBob is a film documentary, but way more of a reality TV show by human filmmakers with the help of certain characters like Mr. Krabs, who supplies cameras, Sandy, who worked for them from the start, and even Squidward in his director theory because he made the SpongeBob movie. This theory is semi-canon because the show very much likes to reference it or hint at said, so I like to use it as part of this theory. We already have evidence the filmmaker used stunt doubles or understudies in the show, like the actual Mr. Krabs or Dennis in this scene.
Mr. Krabs, everyone needs an understudy.
And evidence of them recasting people such as King Neptune for the SpongeBob movie. So if they do have stunt doubles and even recast people for the other guys, why not SpongeBob? Him being the main character, it would explain the amount of clones or doubles, and with the amount, I'm sure the filmmakers just thought, why not throw in a bit with a SpongeBob double with a mustache, because why not? It just makes too much sense for all these weird SpongeBob clones scattered around the place to not be well placed by the filmmakers. But even though this is probably true, does it even matter like at all, like enough to have a whole video about it? Well, not really, until I rewatched the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. That was the moment this theory really started for me. The whole reason this theory exists in the first place was weird about SpongeBob and Patrick, but only in the later part of the movie. Then I jumped on to watching post-movie episodes, and they were equally weird there. A weird most people commonly agree on and label as SpongeBob sucking now, but it felt weird in a different way. A new in-world strangeness that was void of writing differences or quality. SpongeBob and Patrick were different in personality and appearance, everything. But why? Season 1 of movie SpongeBob is actually pretty normal. Well, as normal as a talking sponge that does sometimes torture his neighbor in horrific ways, but in the end, overall, he isn't that bad. He's also able to get mean or get mad or be semi-normal in these early seasons. For example, in the SpongeBob movie, he gets drunk and yells at Mr. Krabs. Okay, so for legal reasons, SpongeBob SquarePants has never drank an alcohol. I repeat, it was ice cream. He ate ice cream.
I deserve that manager's job, but you didn't give it to me, because you say I'm a kid. Well, I am 100% man, and this man has got something to say to you.
Patrick's kinda similar, but in a different way, as pre-movie, he's not that stupid compared to what he is in modern SpongeBob. Okay, to be fair, he is still stupid in pre-movie SpongeBob, but it's more like a base level stupid, which is him just being stoned, like really, really stoned. But after the movie, this man is just something else completely, just like SpongeBob. It really does seem either that after or even at some point in the SpongeBob movie, SpongeBob and Patrick had changed. They had been replaced, or in better words, they had been recast. See, by this point, the filmmakers have basically pulled in every main character they can into their twisted little underwater reality show. For example, Mr. Krabs. He supplies the cameras inside their homes, including their bathrooms. Side note, Mr. Krabs, that is very weird. Stop it. Or Sandy, who literally started working for them being an agent from the start, watching and studying the whole time. This is basically proven in her movie. Don't watch it, it's really bad, but it's kind of the premise, which is pretty cool. Squidward is also kind of in on it, as he's possibly the director for the SpongeBob movie, because he's part of a cult that sponsored it, so they added him as propaganda. Yeah, it's really weird, but that's part of Alex Bell's director theory, but it does add on Squidward to the people in the know, which really does change the dynamics of filming and creating this weird pseudo-documentary. It means the creators can do certain things with their characters without worrying about them finding out they're being filmed. But the only problem with that is the two most important characters are in on it. Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man. I'm kidding. It's SpongeBob and Patrick. While the other main characters in the show know they're in a show, SpongeBob and Patrick don't, which is not great for the filmmakers with how crazy they are, but also does probably create unique situations even they couldn't write because of the crazy unpredictable nature of SpongeBob and Patrick. So it probably isn't a great idea to tell them, because them not knowing is a part of the reality TV show documentary vibe the filmmakers are going for. The only real way to see SpongeBob and Patrick in the know is if they had to be in the know or outright cast for some reason, which wouldn't happen unless they died or left the show. So what am I getting at here? Well, what if SpongeBob and Patrick did die? No, they didn't die. Well, when would they die? They didn't get recast. That's crazy. Crazy old Noah and his bizarre theories. Go to bed, Grandpa.
I'm a goofy goober, yeah. You're a goofy goober, yeah. Goofy, goofy, goober, goober, yeah.
Huh, well, never mind. Guess they died. SpongeBob and Patrick died in his movie. SpongeBob's movie, by the way, not Patrick. He gets a show. In this scene, towards the end of the movie, they're trapped in the real world. They made it all the way to retrieve King Neptune's crown, but at the last minute, they were captured and put under a lamp, slowly frying to death. This is a kid's movie. Somehow. They tried to escape. They tried to get the crown, but they couldn't. They lost. In their eyes, whether this is all manufactured by the filmmakers or not, their friends are in true, utter danger. Mr. Krabs is truly on the edge of death, and right now, they are too. So what do? They sing. Not for help, not for water, but for Goofy Goober. Their last breath is a bleeding mumble of a Broadway number for a children's ice cream mascot. Then they die, and the movie ends. Oh my god, that's horrifying. Oh, okay, no, not really. The pirates who were watching the SpongeBob movie in some weird meta way just yelled no, and hard cut to SpongeBob and Patrick somehow alive as the sprinkler revives them and every dead fish in the room. The dead fish that have mostly been dead for years are somehow revived by some sprinklers. And I get it. You're probably thinking, okay, yeah, that makes sense. This is SpongeBob, Noah. Nothing makes sense, so why would that have to? And I say to that, there actually is logic in SpongeBob that disproves the lack of logic here. Okay, let me try to explain. SpongeBob's logic before the movie is actually different than after it. It's not that crazy. It's dumb, yeah, it can be crazy, but it still has rules. Usually early seasons don't go too far, like SpongeBob pulling apart the universe with a string or draining the entire ocean. Plus, character deaths in SpongeBob usually aren't treated as real as this scene. The way they slowly become corpses of their once selves, crying as the heat hails upon them, that isn't normal. This isn't a bit, this is death. SpongeBob even points it out when walking the room for the first time, saying all these fish are dead. No, SpongeBob and Patrick had to have died, which means the stars of the biggest show in the world were killed by their filmmakers. So, what would they do? Well, they would have to continue. It makes them too much money. Plus, in other Outspell theories, it's been proven the show has a very strong effect on human and fish relations. So they can't just end it, especially with them being the ones responsible for killing SpongeBob. No, they would have to continue. They would have to recast, because the show must go on, even if the stars are gone. See what I did there? Because, Patrick, he's a star. My humor is impeccable. There is a clear difference between the two SpongeBobs, physically, personality-wise, everything. Modern SpongeBob, well, he's a little shorter, has a brighter yellow, but really the real difference is how he acts. Modern SpongeBob is unhinged, chaotic, screaming every sentence, always joyful, but the original SpongeBob, not so much. If you watch the original SpongeBob, you'll notice one thing that a lot of people ignore, which I personally find very funny. SpongeBob is an asshole, but like in a nice way. He's passive aggressive, mean, but also nice and caring. In the episode we see his cousin Stanley, who's very similar to modern SpongeBob, he even screams at him. No, these two SpongeBobs have a clear difference, and maybe, just maybe, it's because he's not the real SpongeBob, but instead an actor doing a caricature of the old SpongeBob, sadly not able to capture the same magic because the writers now have to write his chaos. See, to fully prove this, let's just do a little breakdown of key moments after they died and see examples of SpongeBob and Patrick being different and maybe knowing they were being filmed.
And if I've learned anything during that time, it's that you are who you are.
So yeah, I'm a kid, and I'm also a goofball, and a wingnut, and a knucklehead McSpagatron!
What's going on here?
In this clip, you can very much see the smoke and other special effects surrounding him, but he somehow doesn't notice. This is most likely practical effects done by the filmmakers, especially because now they can go all out because SpongeBob is in the know, which is very much evident with the drug trip of an ending.
Jabal, I'm...
Hey, settle down. Take it easy. What the scallop?
I'm Goofy Goober!
SpongeBob's singing voice is way deeper than it is before the movie right here. Yes, this is small and a gag for the movie, but taking in mind the theory this isn't SpongeBob, maybe the voice being different when he sings, which he does a lot before the movie, but now after, is actually an important detail. The ending also just happens to perfectly promote the sponsor of this movie in a way, which wouldn't be possible without SpongeBob being involved. You can very much see the string holding up SpongeBob after, proving everything is special effects and CGI, but for SpongeBob to literally get pulled on the string, he would have to realize, adding to him being in on it. I actually have a theory that's what we see after the movie in the show is CGI in post or maybe practical effects. While yes, I think Alex Bale's imagination theory is a really cool solution to weird cartoon things in the show, I like the idea it's just CGI or special effects from the filmmakers. That's why post-movie, the crazy antics from SpongeBob get way crazier because he's in on it. Or fake SpongeBob. There is much more proof after the movie as well, but I think what we've gone over already is substantial enough proof that SpongeBob and Patrick have been replaced that I would like to now move on to my final question. We know the city Bikini Bottom has been overrun with clones of him and even other characters in a smaller amount for recasting or maybe stunt doubles or random bits, but my actual question is, who is doing this for the filmmakers? Who is cloning SpongeBob? We have proved that SpongeBob has many clones created by the filmmakers, but that doesn't really make sense. How would the filmmakers create literal clones? No, someone has to be creating these clones for them, and I have a few good ideas. Plankton will be doing it, as he has experience making fake versions of SpongeBob like the SpongeBob robot, but all the fake SpongeBobs he's made aren't exactly the best. Robot SpongeBob is very clearly a robot SpongeBob, and he hasn't really mastered the whole cloning thing. Plus, there's no evidence the filmmakers even let him in on the whole operation, so I feel like we can roll him out and touch on the real mastermind behind all this. We see Sandy literally clone SpongeBob with a cloning machine. We know she is working for the filmmakers, so what is to say she can't be the one cloning SpongeBob, whether for a stunt double, a gag, or to even replace him when he dies. But in the episodes where she does clone SpongeBob, they aren't truly like him, but characters of him, just like post-movie SpongeBob. In my opinion, Sandy is the most likely option for who is creating these clones, as she has done it before the movie, works for them, and is easily the smartest character in the show. The filmmakers behind SpongeBob have been cloning the characters of the show for years, trying to keep alive the show that it once was after losing its stars, doing everything they can to replicate the old magic. If you still don't believe me, then let me give you one final piece of evidence. The official SpongeBob network is set to release a special episode where Sandy herself time travels and accidentally kidnaps past SpongeBob, and he meets modern SpongeBob. In this special, there is a clear difference between the personalities, the appearance, and everything really of the two SpongeBobs. The show itself is now acknowledging they are two separate people, and even Sandy is the one doing it. And hey, maybe with Sandy doing some time travel and messing up with the timeline, the filmmakers could get back to old SpongeBob to recapture that laugh.